on my way northbound on US Route 93. My goal is to hit the Sawtooth Mountains. To get to Stanley, the mountain town where I'll be meeting my friend Barrett, I'll have to navigate between several mountain ranges. Stanley is pretty remote. The highway I'm riding on, Route 93, acts as the main artery that runs down the valley between the mountain ranges of the Salmon Chalice National Forest. There are several towns along this highway that are still surviving from their heyday. For decades, many of the mining towns in this area relied on the gold and silver under these peaks. At the entrance of this valley is the city of Arco. Arco was the first community in the world to be lit by electricity solely generated by nuclear power. Due to an operator maintenance error, 3 personnel died in 1961 when the reactor underwent a steam explosion and meltdown. The 3 men that were on site that day were killed by physical injuries caused by the explosion. Luckily for them, the radiation exposure would have given them 0 chance of survival and most likely a slow and painful death. The 3 victims were buried in lead-lined caskets sealed with concrete and placed in metal vaults with concrete covers. It was the first meltdown in the United States and the only fatal one to date. I kind of have an interesting story of what happened when I stopped at this gas station. As I pulled up to the pump, I noticed 2 other motorcycles already getting gas. Both were Minnesota plates, but one was a whiskey plate. In Minnesota, we have plates designated for people who've been convicted of drunk driving too many times. The 2 men seemed old enough to be retirees on a cross-country road trip. The man with the regular Minnesota plate had apparently tried to use the gas pump, but it malfunctioned and sprayed gas all over his bike and onto the ground. He was busy haggling with the acne-ridden teenage cashier in an attempt to get his money back. I drummed up conversation with the whiskey rider and he told me about the situation. I asked where he was from and he said Minnetonka, a more affluent suburb of the metro. I mentioned I was from St. Louis Park, which is a Jewish community just outside of Minneapolis, and he said, "Oh, you live in Hebrew Heights." I've heard the town called St. Jewish Park many times, but not Hebrew Heights. It's funny I had to ride a couple thousand miles across 4 states to hear that. So I've been riding for hours, and I'm in the middle of the desert, somewhat. Oh yeah, in essence, yeah, it is a desert. I went through this canyon, which is a pass that heads north on US 93. There is no one out here. No one! Unless there's like 1 person watching me, or like sand people up there. They walk in single file to hide their numbers. I am sunburned, so I shouldn't be in the sun too long here, but I just had a thought while I was riding that when I left to go on this odyssey, there was a shooting in Orlando, and then there was another shooting before that, so there's at least 50 people were gunned down in about a week because of gun violence. And then there's somebody. Then the election season is kicking up and Trump is saying terrible things. Hillary's being indicted, possibly. Sanders is losing, even though he may be the better qualified candidate that people might like more in the independent category. But there's just like so much political shit going on. And as somebody who loves history and loves politics, I was getting sick of politics because I was sick of everybody pretending to be an expert, like they'd been paying attention the whole time for years, and that their opinions mean something, so they just copy paste whatever meme they find, and it was getting ridiculous. It was actually exhausting. I just had to turn off Facebook and stop going to it because it would literally start to just wear down on me emotionally. I haven't thought about any of that. I haven't checked Reddit. I haven't seen any news, nothing. I have no idea. There could have been, well, I probably would have known if there was like another 9/11 or something, but like, any major advances in the political arena in any direction or in any way, I have no idea. And it's actually a great feeling to be mentally ignorant of it all. Here I am just following the road. That's it. I was dozing off a little bit. I found myself going a little too fast into a turn, which would have thrown me off of a cliff. So that's a nice tender reminder, a little jolt to your adrenal glands. That was scary. Yeah, I just need to stretch my legs and get off the bike a little bit. Yeah, you all covered in bugs, aren't you? It's getting gross. Gonna need a wash in a few thousand miles, huh? Okay, so back to it. I think I'm about an hour away, hour and a half away from my destination in Stanley, Idaho. Stanley, Idaho. That's where I'm meeting up with Barrett and Greta. All right.